You've been feeling it, haven't you? Like something's moving behind the scenes of your life. You can't quite explain it, but you know, deep in your spirit, that something is shifting. And not just around you, but for you. On your behalf. Chosen one, let me speak directly to you now. Because I know what you've been through. The betrayals. The losses. The nights where you wept silently into your pillow, asking God why people you trusted turned their backs. Why the people you loved the most were the ones who struck the deepest wounds. But listen closely. What they did to you wasn't a loss. It was a setup. You see, the universe, the divine architect, always prepares the stage before revealing the star. You weren't forgotten. You were being hidden, protected, positioned. Because the truth is, those enemies who laughed, mocked, betrayed, and underestimated you, the same ones who called you crazy for believing in a vision only you could see, they're about to witness something they never expected. They're about to bow, not to you as a person, but to what God placed inside you, to the power they tried to suppress, to the calling they tried to silence. Before we go deeper, I want to release a special blessing into your life within the next 60 seconds. Quickly hit that subscribe button if you haven't yet, and smash the like button to help this message reach more chosen ones like you. Once you've done that, you've officially sent your request to the universe. Stay focused for the next 60 seconds, then type "Thank you, universe" in the comments to affirm your blessing. If you have any other prayer requests, feel free to leave them below as well. May God bless you even more abundantly. Right now, there is a spiritual reversal taking place. A divine law unfolding. You may not see it with your physical eyes, but your spirit senses it. The energy is shifting. The scales are tipping. And every plot against you is backfiring. Because what they didn't realize is, you were never ordinary. You were chosen. And when you're chosen, opposition is confirmation, not condemnation. Let me reveal this mystery. The moment you were anointed, you became a threat. Not because of what you have, but because of what you carry. Your spirit is pregnant with destiny, and the enemy's attacks were labor pains, contractions before birth. That pressure you felt lately, that's not destruction. That's deliverance. But here's where it gets personal. You've been asking why things have been delayed. Why certain doors didn't open. Why people who started after you are ahead of you. But the truth is, God was protecting you from premature exposure. He was keeping you out of rooms that weren't ready for your presence. Because if they saw you before you were seasoned, they would have sabotaged you. So instead, God let them mock. He let them walk away. He let them think you were finished. Because He wanted to prepare a table in the presence of your enemies, not behind their backs, not in secret, but right in front of them. You've been walking through a wilderness season, but the promised land is not a myth. It's already being paved. And the very ones who doubted you will become witnesses to your rise. This is not karma. This is prophecy. Let me show you something sacred now, and don't miss it, because it's about your life. When Joseph was thrown into a pit by his own brothers, it looked like defeat. When he was sold into slavery, it looked like shame. When he was falsely accused and thrown into prison, it looked like humiliation. But in reality, every injustice was a step on the ladder to the palace. God used betrayal to build His platform. And now, God is doing the same in your life. You didn't lose them, they lost access to you. You didn't get rejected, you got redirected. But it hurt, didn't it? Because you loved them. You supported them. You would have gone to war for them. And they still turned around and wounded you. But let me tell you something they don't know. They didn't break you, they built you. You were being tested, not to destroy your spirit, but to reveal it. You didn't know how strong you were until you had no choice but to be. And now, heaven is moving. Angels are being dispatched. There's a shift in spiritual authority happening in your favor. Your name is being spoken in rooms you've never entered. And the ones who laughed at you, soon, they will bow. Not in humiliation, but in awe. Because what's coming next in your life can't be explained by logic. It's supernatural, divine, designed. They will look at you and ask, how? And the answer will be simple, God. So if your life has felt like warfare, if your soul has been tired, if your mind has been heavy, just know this. The warfare was proof of the weight you carry. And when you're chosen, your path will never look like theirs. Because your crown doesn't come cheap. But it's coming. You're still here. That means your spirit recognizes the truth in what you just heard. Now let me take you deeper. Because this isn't just about enemies. This isn't just about people. This is about divine justice. A cosmic rebalancing. There is a law in the spirit realm that governs cause and consequence. It may look like your enemies got away with what they did. Like they've moved on and are flourishing while you've been bleeding in silence. But hear me, nothing goes unnoticed in the courts of heaven. Every tear you cried, recorded. Every lie told against you, registered. Every injustice, noted. God doesn't operate on your schedule. He operates on divine timing, and right now, that timing is aligning with your vindication. Don't mistake silence for absence. The universe has been gathering evidence, and now the verdict is about to be read aloud. This is what's happening in your life right now. Even if you can't see it, a spiritual summons has gone out. The people who thought they buried you are being called back, not to your funeral, but to your resurrection. Because you're not in the grave, you're in the womb. And what they thought was your ending, was actually your beginning. See, you've been hidden for a reason. Covered. Cocooned. When a butterfly is in transformation, it looks like nothing is happening. But inside that dark place, the wings are forming. And when it emerges, it doesn't look like what it went through. That's you. You're coming out of this unrecognizable. And those who tried to define you by your past will be confused. Because they didn't see the process. They didn't see the pressure. They didn't see the pruning. They didn't see the nights you stayed up fighting battles in your mind and soul just to keep your heart pure. They didn't see the conversations you never had, the times you held your tongue when you could have exposed them. But heaven saw it all. And God said, because you kept your hands clean, I'm going to place a crown on your head. And here's the truth most people don't understand. Elevation always follows humiliation. The lower they pushed you, the higher God is about to raise you. That's why the rejection had to be public. So your restoration can be, too. Now listen carefully, because this is the part that connects everything to your life right now. There is a shift happening inside you. You're not just recovering from what they did. You're ascending. Your thoughts are changing. Your energy is changing. Your discernment is getting sharper. You're not triggered like before. You're no longer chasing validation. You're no longer explaining your worth. Why? Because the version of you they tried to destroy is no longer here. You've been reborn. This next chapter of your life won't be built on striving. It will be built on alignment. You don't need to force doors open, they're being opened for you. And this is why they're going to bow. Not because you sought revenge, but because God is about to make an example out of your life. And hear me, this next part is crucial. The reason they came after you so hard is because they saw your light before you did. There are spiritual entities that recognize potential before it's fully manifested. And they will use people close to you, friends, family, lovers, as vessels to try and dim that light. That's why the attack was so personal. It wasn't just about hurting you. It was about silencing your voice, blinding your vision, derailing your destiny. But guess what? It didn't work. You're still here, still breathing, still believing. And now the universe is turning the tide. Heaven is reordering things in your favor. The people who laughed when you stumbled, they're about to witness your rise. Not in arrogance, but in purpose. Because your comeback isn't for applause. It's for assignment. You're not just being elevated, you're being positioned. There's a seat at the table with your name on it. And when you sit down, you won't be bitter. You won't seek revenge. You'll smile with peace in your heart and say, "Now I understand why it all had to happen." That's growth. That's grace. That's power. And the most incredible part, you haven't even scratched the surface of what's coming next. You're still with me, and that's because your spirit knows what I'm saying is not just words. It's confirmation. Chosen one, something sacred is rising within you right now. That pressure in your chest, that tingling in your gut, that quiet trembling in your hands, that's not fear. That's truth awakening. Your soul recognizing itself. Your higher self stretching into the space it was always meant to occupy. And here's the mystery they never told you. The pain you endured wasn't random. It was precise. It was custom designed to awaken what had been sleeping inside of you. There are gifts in you that only get activated through adversity. See, if your life had been easy, you would have stayed ordinary, comfortable, quiet. But God allowed the shaking because He needed the sleeping giant within you to rise. And now you're rising. Not because you've figured it all out, but because something deeper has taken over. A divine force. A holy rage. A sacred resilience. They thought they could bury you in silence. But the silence became your sanctuary. Your training ground. Your holy place. And now, the silence is breaking. The winds are shifting. The veil is lifting. And those who plotted your fall are starting to feel an unease they can't explain. They don't know it yet, but their time is up. Because when a chosen one awakens, the enemy trembles. You were never meant to blend in. That's why you never felt fully accepted. That's why the rooms you walked into felt cold. That's why your ideas were always too much, your spirit too intense, your dreams too big. You weren't created to be tolerated. You were created to be recognized. And now the heavens are announcing your name. Not to the world just yet, but to the spiritual realm. The forces that warred against your mind are losing grip. The curses spoken over your life are breaking. The manipulation, the confusion, the spiritual fog, it's all lifting. Because now, finally, you're stepping into awareness. Into alignment. Into authority. And this is where everything changes. Because the moment you remember who you are, the enemy loses control. Your enemies, both physical and spiritual, never feared your finances, your beauty, your charisma, or your success. What they truly feared was your awakening. They feared the day you'd stop explaining yourself. Stop shrinking. Stop playing small. They feared the day you'd look in the mirror and say, "No more." And now that day has come. So here's what's happening in the spiritual right now. The universe is beginning to reverse the energy flow. The attacks that used to hit you directly, blocked. The manipulation that used to work on you, broken. The lies that used to confuse you, exposed. You are not the same person who cried over their betrayal. You are not the same soul who begged for their love. You are not the same heart who questioned your worth. You have transcended. You don't need closure, because you've closed the chapter yourself. And here's the twist they didn't see coming. While they were busy cursing you behind closed doors, you were healing in silence. While they laughed at your struggles, you were upgrading in the spirit. While they tried to keep you small, God was expanding you in secret. And now, the season of hiding is over. This is why they're going to bow. Not to your ego, but to the glory they tried to dim. The version of you that's emerging now is sacred, protected, and unstoppable. And you want to know the most powerful part? You're not even angry anymore. You're not bitter. You're not resentful. You've been purified. Because real elevation doesn't come from revenge. It comes from release. You let go, and now heaven is rewarding you for it. The laws of the universe are responding to your obedience, to your humility, to your decision to keep your heart clean even when your hands were dirty with tears. And now the shift is undeniable. Every delay, turning into divine timing. Every betrayal, becoming a blessing. Every enemy, becoming your footstool. Yes, they're going to bow, but not because you forced them. Because the energy has shifted, the tables have turned, and they won't even know why they feel drawn back to you. Only this time, they'll see the crown. And it won't be invisible anymore. You're still here. That tells me something powerful about you. You're not just watching this, you're feeling it. You're remembering who you are. Or maybe, you're finally learning for the first time. Either way, it's no accident that you're hearing this now. No coincidence. Because the message you're receiving is one only the chosen can fully understand. So let me go even deeper. Let me expose the hidden part. There's a reason your life has felt heavier than others. It's not because you're cursed. It's because you're called. When God marks you for something greater, the weight you carry increases. Not to crush you, but to construct you. You weren't made in comfort. You were made in the fire. While others were being praised, you were being pressed. While others were being cheered on, you were being challenged. And here's the mystery. The attack wasn't personal, it was prophetic. Every delay, every closed door, every false accusation, every fake friend, every moment you felt forgotten, all of it was part of a divine conspiracy to build a version of you that can't be broken. That's why the enemy panicked when you didn't quit. You weren't supposed to survive. You weren't supposed to still be standing after all they did. But here you are. You're the threat they never saw coming. And that's why the warfare has intensified lately. Because your breakthrough is closer than ever. Because heaven is aligning the pieces. Because your enemies can sense your rise even before you step into the room. Spirits recognize spirits. And the ones who attacked you weren't reacting to you. They were reacting to what you carry. You carry freedom. You carry truth. You carry divine disruption. And wherever you go, you awaken people. You interrupt deception. You disturb what was asleep. That's your power. And that's why people either love you or leave you. But hear me, the ones who walked away weren't meant to stay. They were necessary only for the lesson, not the legacy. The rejection was protection. The betrayal was redirection. And the isolation, that was initiation. Because before every public elevation comes private separation. God pulled you away not because you were forgotten, but because you were being forged. And the moment of revealing is upon you. I'm not just saying that to make you feel good. I'm telling you what your spirit already knows. Your name is rising in the spirit. Doors are preparing to open. The energy is reversing. The very things that fought you are about to serve you. The stone the builders rejected is becoming the cornerstone. And you're not going to have to fight to prove yourself anymore. Because when God exalts you, no man can ignore you. Let's talk about what's happening in the lives of your enemies now. See, while you've been healing, repenting, forgiving, and rising, they've been reaping. Not because you cursed them. Not because you hated them. But because what you sow, you reap, and what they sowed was destruction, envy, sabotage. And now the harvest is coming due. You may never see it. You may never hear about it. But in the spirit, it's already begun. Their own actions have turned on them. The pits they dug for you are now consuming them. The lies they spread are circling back like a storm. And the beauty of it all, you're not even watching. Because your focus is no longer on vengeance, it's on vision. You're not looking back. You're looking up. That's why your elevation will be different. That's why your rise will be unmatched. Because you're not being raised by man, you're being raised by heaven itself. And no one can undo what heaven has ordained. The universe is rewriting your story in real time. And guess what? You're not behind schedule. You're right on time. All those years of delay, they were development. The slow seasons, they were soil. And now you're about to bloom in a way that shocks even you. This is not hype. This is not motivational fluff. This is divine timing unfolding. And when it hits, it won't just shift your life, it'll shift generations. Because you weren't just chosen for you. You were chosen to break the cycle. To end the curse. To start the legacy. And that's why they're going to bow. Not to your personality, but to your purpose. Not to your pride, but to the presence of something greater that walks with you. You're still here, and I need you to feel the weight of that. Because only someone who was truly meant for this word would still be here, receiving it, absorbing it, becoming it. The average person couldn't handle what you've handled. They couldn't walk through what you've walked through and still keep their heart intact. They would have broken. They would have lost their mind. But you went through the valley of the shadow of death and still carried light in your eyes. Do you understand how rare that is? Do you understand the kind of anointing it takes to survive the betrayals that should have destroyed you, and still show up with grace? The world doesn't see it, but heaven does. And that's why the universe is moving things on your behalf. There are conversations happening about you in rooms you've never entered. There are shifts happening in spiritual places where your name is being spoken with honor. And here's the deep truth that very few know. When God prepares a table in the presence of your enemies, it's not to humiliate them. It's to reveal you. Because the truth is, they never saw you clearly. They saw fragments. They saw your flaws. They saw the version of you still becoming. But now, they're going to witness the becoming fulfilled. They won't even recognize the version of you that's rising. And here's the mystery. The universe didn't allow them to love you correctly in your lower state because they weren't meant to walk with you in your higher one. If they had stayed, they would have corrupted the future. So don't mourn the ones who had to leave. Don't grieve the losses that felt so unfair. Don't keep trying to resurrect what God buried. They were part of your pain, not your promise. And now the promise is here. It may not look like it yet on the outside, but your spirit knows what I'm saying is true. The shift is internal first. You feel lighter, sharper, more aware, more awake. You're not drawn to the same environments. You're not excited by the same distractions. You're not even hungry for validation anymore. You're hungry for alignment. This is what happens when a chosen one begins to walk in destiny instead of desperation. And it scares the ones who once controlled you. See, control doesn't require chains. It only requires confusion. As long as you were confused about your worth, they had influence. As long as you were doubting yourself, they could manipulate your emotions. But now that the fog has lifted, their power is gone. And this is the beginning of their downfall. Not because you're seeking revenge, but because heaven is executing reversal. Everything that was meant to hinder you is now being turned to help you. The very lies they told are becoming fuel for your favor. The very pain they caused is unlocking your platform. The very rejection they gave you is launching your recognition. And when you rise, it will be undeniable. You won't need to prove it. You won't need to explain how you made it out. Because what God is about to do in your life will be undeniable proof of divine intervention. You're stepping into a season of open doors, unexplainable favor, and supernatural vindication. And here's the revelation. It won't be loud, but it will be loud enough for them to hear it in their silence. You don't have to announce anything. Just keep walking. Keep growing. Keep glowing. Because while they're watching your life from a distance, trying to figure out how you're still rising, they won't realize that your oil came from crushing. And oil can't be taken. It can only be earned. You earned this anointing. You earned this clarity. You earned this peace. Not through perfection, but through obedience. Through sacrifice. Through surrender. You chose to stay soft in a world that tried to harden you. You chose to keep your heart open in the face of betrayal. You chose to trust the process, even when it made no sense. And now, the universe is responding to that trust. It's preparing a public table for someone who endured private pain. And at that table, they will bow. Not because you forced them to, but because the light now resting on your life will demand reverence. Something is unlocking inside of you, not just understanding, but activation. And that's the difference between the chosen and the common. The common waits for change. The chosen embody it. So listen carefully, because this part is sacred, and only those who are truly ready can receive it. The downfall of your enemies isn't coming through your hands. It's coming through your becoming. That's what they never expected. They thought if they broke your heart, they could stop your destiny. They thought if they spread enough lies, your voice would go silent. They thought if they isolated you, you would disappear. But what they didn't understand is that the isolation was your elevation. Because when God hides you, it's not punishment. It's preparation. He hid you so he could build you without interference. He hid you so the weapons wouldn't prosper. He hid you so your next move couldn't be predicted, manipulated, or sabotaged. And now, you're about to emerge. But here's the twist. You're not emerging angry. You're not emerging with vengeance in your heart. You're emerging with power, peace, and precision. Because now you understand, your victory was never about proving them wrong. It was about proving heaven right. You were always the one to break it, the one to heal it, the one to rise, when no one else around you had the courage to. And that's why the universe is rearranging everything around your life right now. Not in chaos, but in divine order. Things that used to confuse you are becoming clear. Places that used to drain you are now being removed. People who once controlled your emotions now feel irrelevant. That's the shift. You've outgrown the lower frequencies, and now the universe is responding. Do you feel it? The peace that makes no sense. The certainty, even without details. The sudden loss of interest in things that once consumed you. That's not random. That's alignment. And when a chosen one steps into alignment, the laws of the universe bend in their favor. What used to take years will now happen in months. What once required struggle will now come through surrender. And the people who once mocked you, they'll either disappear or be forced to watch. Because now, your fruit will speak louder than their fiction. Your results will silence their rumors. Your rise will be the response. But here's the greatest mystery I need you to understand right now. This isn't about them. This is about you. This is about your assignment. This is about your soul finally walking in rhythm with what it was created to do. Everything you've heard, everything your spirit has witnessed in these words, this wasn't just a message. It was a revelation. And now, it's time to walk in it. This is the moment the page turns. This is the chapter where it all starts to make sense. Not just the pain. Not just the losses. Not just the silence. But all of it, woven together by divine intelligence, to birth the version of you that hell couldn't stop. Let me say something the world will never say to you. You did it. You survived the betrayal and still stayed soft. You carried the weight no one could see and didn't grow bitter. You cried when no one knew, and still chose to love people who didn't deserve access to your heart. That is sacred. That is holy. And now, the same God that watched you endure in silence is about to reward you in public. Yes, public. Because private pain always qualifies you for public promotion. Let them stare. Let them speculate. Let them whisper. But while they talk, you walk. You walk into overflow. You walk into favor. You walk into clarity, strategy, and supernatural acceleration. Because the battle you just came out of, that was the final test. They thought it would be the end of you. But it was actually the ending of the old you. You've died to who you used to be. The insecure you is gone. The doubtful you has no voice now. The over-explaining, over-giving, undervaluing version of you is never coming back. A resurrection has taken place in your spirit. A new creature now walks the earth. And that new creature carries rank in the spirit realm. You are no longer just reacting to life. You are commanding it. You are no longer begging for scraps. You are attracting streams. You are no longer chasing people. You are drawing purpose partners. This is the fruit of your fire. This is the reward of your wilderness. And yes, your enemies. They will bow. Not because you made them. Not because you demanded revenge. But because what God is doing in your life will demand acknowledgement. They'll see the glow and won't know how to explain it. They'll hear about the doors opening for you and wonder why it's not happening for them. They'll watch people gather to support your name, the same name they tried to stain, and feel something inside them collapse. Not because you wished for their downfall, but because they activated their own. The universe is just returning what they sowed. But you're reaping something different. You're reaping joy after mourning, peace after war, clarity after confusion, elevation after delay, and love after abandonment. Real love. Not the kind that plays games with your soul. Not the kind that manipulates your empathy. But the kind that matches your frequency, honors your growth, and protects your purpose. Yes, even that is part of the reward. Because God is not just restoring what you lost. He's upgrading what you tolerated. The life that's forming around you now won't require performance. It will respond to presence. Because your very presence is changing. You don't walk like a victim anymore. You walk like a vessel. You don't carry desperation anymore. You carry destiny. And that shift is attracting the new reality you've longed for. So if you're asking, what happens now? Here's the answer. Now, you rise. Now, you rule. Now, you lead not from ego, but from alignment. You become the leader, the healer, the guide, the visionary that your bloodline has been waiting for. You become the standard, the cycle breaker, the ancestor in the making, the living evidence that pain does not define purpose, it awakens it. And as you rise, the darkness that once claimed territory in your life will be silenced. Not by force, but by frequency. Because when your light reaches a certain intensity, darkness can't argue. It has to bow. And everything that used to intimidate you, it now shrinks in your presence. Because you don't fight battles the same way anymore. You don't defend your name, you let God do it. You don't chase love, you radiate it. You don't need to prove anything, because your fruit proves everything. This is what makes the chosen different. We don't move with crowds. We move with conviction. We don't need noise. We walk in knowing. And that knowing, it shakes the room before we even speak. So get ready, chosen one. The months ahead will not look like what came before. You're about to walk into rooms where your name preceded you. You're about to receive messages from people who dismissed you, suddenly recognizing your value. You're about to access levels that others tried to block, and realize they never had the authority to block what they didn't create. And when you stand in those new places, don't shrink. Don't doubt whether you belong. You do. You always have. But now, the world will see it too. The same ones who discredited you will be forced to respect you. The same ones who mocked your dreams will witness their manifestation. And when they see you shine, they won't know it, but they'll be bowing to the God in you. That's who they've been fighting this whole time. Not you, but what was on you. And now, it's being revealed in full. This is not just your comeback. This is your crowning. The universe isn't just giving you restoration. It's handing you recompense. Everything stolen, returned sevenfold. Everything broken, rebuilt stronger. Everything delayed, accelerated. So the next time you feel doubt creeping in, remind yourself of this truth. The same universe that watched you suffer is now preparing your reward. And the same enemies who tried to destroy you are about to become witnesses to your becoming. Would you like me to prepare the next revelation for you? If this spoke to you deeply, make sure you subscribe, share this with someone who feels like they've been under attack, and comment below. I'm ready for my crowning. Because your time is now.